We have completed the first part. We will be starting the part 2 today, verses 14 to verses 28. Let's start with the prayers. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. As I'm in Vrindavan, yesterday we got to visit one very old temple, 5,200 years old temple. It's called Gaur Govinda. And there I picked up this wonderful saying. It says, Sampurna Bhagavad Darshan. How you can have it. I'll just read it. Of course, it's just a photograph. It's not very clear. But you will really enjoy the essence of it. Attaining the Supreme. It reads as, Deku 9, Mile Chain. That is, if you see the Lord's eyes, you will be filled with joy. Deku Kan, Mile Samman. If you see the ears of the Lord, you will be honored. Deku Kant, Mile Vaikunt. If you see the throat of the Lord, you will be blessed with Vaikunta, a place of the Lord's abode. Deku Shrungar. If you see the dressing of the Lord, Mile Bhandar, you will get prasad. Deku Mukh. If you see the face of the Lord, Mile Sukh, you will be blessed with happiness. Deku Charan, Mile Sharan. If you see the feet of the Lord, you will attain surrender. And that is attaining the Supreme is all about. Understand the glory of the Lord and surrender to Him. So with this wonderful, I was really touched by this saying. So I took a photograph and I said, I must share with all of you today. So with this, we start the first part of the class. So we will have a quick recap on what we studied in the last class. So this chapter starts with questions from Arjuna. Arjuna has doubts. And in the first two questions, Arjuna asks the doubts. And in the third and fourth verses, Krishna answers the doubts. And what are the doubts of Arjuna? He says, Krishna, can you please tell me what is Brahma? So Krishna says, Brahma is within you. It is Jiva and Atma. It is the indestructible Akshara, transcendental living entity, and it is separate from the material body. Second question of Arjuna is, what is Adhyatma? Adhyatma is Swabhava. Swabhava is eternal nature or impressions that accompany the Jiva and govern the body. This is what makes us each individual, each living being unique. Santosh is different from Ramesh. Ramesh is different from Sham. Why? Because we have our own eternal nature. No two eternal natures are alike. What is karma? We have heard a lot of definitions of karma so far. It is action, it is reaction, it's a system of action, reaction. But in chapter 8, Krishna gives another very profound definition of karma. He says, all the fruitive activities, all the pious deeds, non-pious deeds that we do in this world leads to transmigration of the soul from one material body to another. He is very clearly talking about rebirth. So our journey is a cycle. Life, birth, death. Again, life, birth, and death. So this is called cycle of samsara. So this is the definition of karma in chapter 8. Now we are progressively understanding what karma stands for. The fourth question, Arjuna asks, what is Adibhuta? Krishna says, Adibhuta is Prakriti, that which we are all living in this material world. And what is the characteristics of this? It is constantly changing. Our body is made up of Panchabhuta. So our body is also constantly changing. Everything in this world keeps changing, but it is temporary. That's why it's called Kshara. That is Adibhuta. What is Adidaiva? Now, Adidaiva, Krishna says, if you want to really imagine what I am, you imagine me as a Virat Purusha. And what is this Virat Purusha? We will see this in the 11th chapter, where he gives us the glimpse of Vishwarupa Darshana. It's a gigantic universal form. The entire universe is located within the body of Krishna. That is Virat Purusha. And it includes all the demigods, the planets, all the 14 lokas, sun, moon, everything is within the body of Krishna. That is Adidaiva. It is inconceivable. None of us can imagine it using our material intelligence and material mind. You need spiritual vision. That's why even Arjuna was given Chakshu from Krishna to see this Virat Purusha or the Vishwarupa. The sixth question, what is or who is Adiyagna? Krishna says, it is I who am within you as the super soul, Paramatma, and I am the enjoyer of all sacrifices. Seventh, how is Adiyagna known in the body? Krishna says, I am in the heart of all jivas. I am your witness, I am your regulator, and I inspire all performance of sacrifice. That's our conscience. Whenever we want to do a thing which is not so good, which is not so right, we have that worry, the guilt in us. Why? Because the Lord is situated with us as Adiyagna. Then Arjuna asks the most important question, how to know you at the point of death? This entire chapter, after these first 3-4 verses, Krishna takes time to explain to Arjuna what is death. So this is a brief summary of what we studied in the last class. Then quickly we go through the second lesson, remembrance of Krishna at death. So it is Arjuna who asks Krishna, how do I remember you at the time of death? Now one may be wondering, why is Krishna giving such a detailed explanation? Why is Arjuna asking this question? That is basically because this Gita discourse happened on Kurukshetra battlefield, as we are all aware. And Arjuna was riddled with self-doubts, and he said, I will not fight. I don't want to kill my own grandfather, my own guru, Acharya, Dronacharya. So I don't want to fight. So he was not happy because he had to kill his relatives in the war. And there were millions of soldiers, millions of people facing each other and facing death in the next few moments, next few days. So death was the most current topic when Gita was being shared by Krishna to Arjuna. So that's the reason why Arjuna asks this question and Krishna gives the answer. What is the essence of whole chapter is how to remember Krishna, particularly at the time of death. And why is it so important? Krishna gives law of last thought. Antakale cha mameva. Smarana muktva kalevaram. Whatever you remember at the time of death, you will achieve that. Your soul will get into that body. So, and how do you remember Krishna? Now Arjuna asks the next question. How do I remember you? Krishna says, if you practice continuously, then you can attain me. You can reach me. So remembering Krishna at the time of death is the essence of life. That's what we must all aim for. That is attaining the Supreme. That's the essence of this chapter. So this is the lesson 3, verses 9 to 22, of which we have done 4 verses from 9 to 13. That is remembrance by Yoga Mishra Bhakti. What is Yoga Mishra Bhakti? It is Satchakra Yoga, moving your pranavayu to Agnya Chakra at the meeting point between the eyebrows. Is it easy? It is not easy. You have to be a practiced yogi to have command over Satchakra Yoga or Yoga Mishra Bhakti. Today we start with the easier course that Krishna tells Arjuna, remembrance by Shuddha Bhakti and remembrance by comparison of material world and spiritual world. So, attaining the Supreme, remembrance of Krishna as last thought, the law of last thought. What is the easiest way of remembering is that Krishna is giving us the formula how to live in this world, how to leave this world. We all have heard of Ravi Shankar's art of living. This is art of living. And it is also important because the art of living defines our next birth. That's we will see as we go along. So what is the essence of remembering Krishna? Krishna says, if you remember me, then firstly you must remember me. How you should remember me? By these 3 methods. Now, if you remember me, what happens? You attain me. How do you attain me? It is by bhakti, by devotion service. So again, Krishna comes back to the same thing. Bhakti is the easiest path to attain Krishna. And then he also tells us two very important concepts, which is, you must go through all the Vedas to understand this. It is described as Devayana, path of light, and Pitriyana, path of darkness. What is that? We will see as we go along. And he established the supremacy of Bhakti Yoga in this chapter. With this brief, let's go to the first verse, or let's see Attaining the Supreme. 3 paths to remember him by Yoga Mishra Bhakti, Shuddha Bhakti, which we'll be studying today, and comparison of material world and spiritual world. Now, I have divided this into 3 parts just to give us a flavor. What do you mean by attaining the Supreme? Why should we do it? So first is how to do it. Krishna gives this answer in 8.14. Next, why to do it? He gives us the answer in 8.15, the first 2 verses today. And then what is attaining the Supreme? What will happen if I attain Krishna? We don't even have that knowledge. So Krishna very clearly says that if you come to me, then you are eternal. You will have no birth and death. So this is the essence of attaining the Supreme. So let's start. So attaining Krishna is easy by Kevala Bhakti. How to attain him? By Kevala Bhakti, Shuddha Bhakti. Why you should attain him? You will be free from the cycle of birth and death. No rebirth for devotees. What is attaining the Supreme looks like? You will attain the eternal spiritual world. That's the abode of Krishna, where you are forever out of this cycle of samsara. So let's start with the first verse today. Ananya cheta satatam yomam smarti nitya saha tasyaham sulabha partha nitya yuktasya yoginaha. I have underlined the word smarati. So the entire focus of Krishna to Arjuna is remember me, meditate on me. You cannot remember a person if you don't make the effort throughout your life. And he is giving us the path how to do it. What's the translation? And summary of this verse is, attaining Krishna is easy by Kevala Bhakti. For one, this is the translation. For one who always remembers me without deviation. Let me take the point. I am easy to obtain, O son of Pritha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. So he says, you can attain me by constant engagement in devotional service. Nitya yuktasya yoginaha. In 8.5, Krishna said, Antakale cha mammeva smaran muktva kalevaram yaprayati samadbhavam yati nasti atra samshayaha. If you remember me at the time of death, you will come back to me. Now, we have studied remembrance by Yoga Mishra Bhakti through Satchakra Yoga, which is more difficult than Ashtanga Yoga. So now Krishna says, I will take you through Shuddha Bhakti. This is Kevala Bhakti. And if you are able to follow this path, Arjuna, you can remember me easily. And this is the first time and the only time that Krishna uses the word Sulabha. Sulabha means easy. So that is reassuring to all of us that yes, if I have to choose from the 3 paths that Krishna tells us in Gita, karma, gnana, and bhakti, which is the easiest? Bhakti is the easiest. Let us go line by line. Ananya cheta satatam, without deviation of the mind, without letting our consciousness stray. Satatam, constantly, anywhere, or anytime, all the time. So the mind of the devotee is only focused on Krishna. It doesn't look at karma yoga. It does not look at gnana yoga. He doesn't want moksha. He doesn't want mukti. This is constant remembrance of the Lord. Now, there's a nice story on, I know how we should understand constantly. Lord Chaitanya, who is the avatar of Krishna in Kali Yuga, once went to the toilet. He had to evacuate. And when he returned, his disciples were surprised to see him biting his tongue and holding it tightly. They asked him, "Oh Lord, you are the supreme. Why are you trying to hold your tongue?" Then Lord Chaitanya said, "I am not able to control my tongue from chanting Krishna's Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Even when I'm doing a filthy activity, my tongue doesn't stop chanting the Lord's name. And I don't want to chant the Lord's name when I'm engaged in such an activity. Then his disciples were surprised. And there was a small boy called Gopala, who makes the effort, takes the brave decision, stands up and says, "Oh Lord, you have only told us that Krishna's name is pure. It will not be contaminated by external contamination. Whether it is going to the toilet, whether it's the time of death, if you remember Krishna, it's always pure because he's transcendental." Then the Lord said, "I'm sorry, Gopala. I have told you this, but then I myself did not follow this." So the essence of this mantra, essence of bhakti is you can do it anytime. It doesn't cost you money. All you need is a bead, if you have a bead bag. If not, you have a counter. If you don't have a counter, it doesn't matter. Just keep chanting. That is remembering the Lord constantly. Yomam smarati nityasaha. Smarati. He is hammering this constantly. Smarati. Remember me. How to remember him? Remember him constantly. We just saw how Lord Chaitanya said, even at the time of evacuation, I want to remember Krishna. And it has to be, now the question is it today? Is it for a day, or for a month, for a year? The question is Nityasaha. It is throughout your life. That is the essence of devotion. You cannot say that I will do it today and I'll stop doing it tomorrow. No. If you are able to do it, tasyaham sulabha partha, then I am easy to obtain, because you don't have to do anything extra at the time of death or at any other time, because you are always engaged in remembering me. Nitya yuktasya yoginaha. Such a person whose mind is undeviatingly, constantly concentrating on Krishna, on the Lord, he is the yogist, highest yogi, and you can attain me easily. So this is the roadmap for all of us devotees. Now we are reading Gita, and it's in Gita that Krishna is telling Arjuna, you can achieve me through constant devotion. How you can achieve through constant devotion? Srila Prabhupada has given us a wonderful way. He says, don't do anything, just chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra as much as possible. If you are a newcomer, chant it once a day. If I am a serious student, I chant 16 rounds of 108 each every day. I met a devotee who chants 5 lakh times in a day. So there are people who live even today. We can all go and visit him in Radhakund. We are coming back from that place, that he spends almost 20 hours plus only chanting the Lord's name, nothing else. He has no time for food. He has no time for sleep, only remembering the Lord. That is surrendering to Krishna. So what are the ways of attaining Krishna? Why is bhakti sulabha? He says ananya chetaha, single pointedly, satatam, always, nityasa, every day, nitya yuktasya, unwavering, sulabha. If you follow these 4 steps, then I am very easy to attain. Let's go to the next verse. Mam upetya punarjanma. Very interesting verse. Dukhalayam ashaswatam. Napnuvanti mahatmanaha samsiddhim paramam gataha. Now, what does he say? No rebirth for pure devotees. Let's look at the translation. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. Let's go line by line. Mam upetya punarjanma. If you attain Krishna, that's the ultimate. You will never ever take birth again in this world. And he describes this with 2 very powerful words. He says, Dukhalayam, it is a place of misery. Ashaswatam, it's a temporary abode. Why do you want to focus so much on fulfilling your material requirements when you know that you are here for a very short period of time? Ask a baby who is in the womb for 9 months. It is Dukhalayam. it is full of misery. It is living in such a cramped quarters, gasping for breath. And when it comes out crying. That's the nature of this material world. And what are we trying to do? We are trying to hold on to a bubble. Can you ever catch a bubble in your hand? However much you try, the bubble will break. This is the equivalent of trying to be happy in this material world. By the time you think I am ready to enjoy, there is something else which will overcome you. So you are never in a position to say that I am happy, I am satisfied with everything. So now there are people, Mahatmanaha, Napnuvanti, but there are people who follow the path of devotion, who try to remember Krishna constantly, who make efforts to remember Krishna constantly, like what we are doing today. Reading Gita is sacrifice to Krishna using our intelligence, and that's what is required. If you do that, Napnuvanti Mahatmanaha, Samsiddhim Paramgataha, Paramam Gataha, you will achieve me. And what is Paramam? Paramam is the supreme. That's the highest goal that a person can have in this world. We can then enter Krishna's abode, from where we are free from birth of cycle of birth and death. A very, very important verse. So 14th and 15th is very clearly describing the path of devotion. Another important verse which gives you the flavor of Dukhalayam Ashaswatam. What is the type of material world and why we should try and move our focus away from fulfilling material needs to trying to start looking at devotion and spirituality. Let's go through this verse. Abrahma bhuvana loka punaravartino arjuna mamupetyatu kaunteya punarjanmana vidyate. I can't, most of us can realize punarjanmana vidyate. What is Krishna saying? Rebirth is in all planets except Krishna's abode. So this is a very, very powerful message for all kinds of yogis who think that if I go to Brahmaloka, maybe I have achieved far better than a devotee. Krishna says no. What is the translation? He says, from the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. Punarjanma na vidyate. So this, if you link back to 8.6, he had said, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajati ante kalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sadatad bhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, you will attain that without fail. So if now he's saying this applies, why is Krishna giving this example now? He says, there is no world other than Goloka, Vaikunta, where you will become eternal. Even Abrahma Bhuna Loka. So these first two lines, Abrahma Bhuna Loka, we will see what is the status of Brahmaloka in this world. Punaravartina, even if you go to Brahmaloka, you have to come back. So these two lines describe the material world. Mamupetetu kaunteya. This line is a repetition from the last verse. He says, if you come to me, punarjanmana vidyate. This is describing Krishna's abode. And we will see further description of this, all the material worlds and what is the challenge of being in a material world in 17 to 19 verses. And these two lines, which is describing Krishna's abode, will be described in the verses 20 to 22. So let's go line by line. Abrahma Bhuvana Loka, from the topmost planetary system to the lowermost, that is up to and including Brahmaloka. Now you may be wondering, why is Brahmaloka considered to be the highest loka? Then what are the other lokas? So if you look at scriptures, they define 14 lokas. There are 7 above us, there are 7 below us. Bhu, Bhuva, Swar, Maha, Jana, Tapa, and Satya. Satya is another name of Brahmaloka. So these are the 7 lokas above us. Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Rasatala, Talatala, Mahatala, Patala, Patala. These are the 7 lokas below us. And Brahmaloka is the highest. So why Krishna is saying that even if you go to Brahmaloka, Arjuna, you will have to come back to this world. And you will understand what is the lifespan of Brahma in the verses going forward. It is infinitely large, but even then it is not eternal. We will see that going forward. Punaravruttino Arjuna, you will have to come back again. Mam upetyatu kaunteya, if you achieve me, you will not come back to this world. You will be free from birth. You will have no, or you will be free from the cycle of birth and death. So what is Krishna telling us? He is giving us 2 paths. He says, in the material world, either through Karma Yoga or Gnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Satchakra Yoga, whatever you do, Yoga Mishra Bhakti, if you struggle on this path, you will attain, or you might perhaps reach the highest destination, that is Brahmaloka. Yes, Brahmaloka, going to Brahmaloka itself is a task. But Krishna is saying, I will give you another path, follow the path of bhakti, then you will get results even far greater than Brahmaloka. Let us see that in the coming verses. Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Aharyad Brahmano Vidu Ratrim Yuga Sahasrantam Teho Ratra Vido Janaha. And now you will start understanding how vast is time in the spiritual world. Now this is the verse of Brahma's one day. Let's go to look at the translation. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together form the duration of Brahma's one day, Sahasra Yuga. And such also is the duration of his night. So Krishna is now giving Arjuna the essence and the vastness of Brahma's life cycle. So Brahma lives on this in his lifetime for 100 years. It looks very small, but as we go through, you will understand it is mind-boggling. You will not be able to even connect with what are the figures that Krishna is telling Arjuna. The life of Brahma, if I were to give you just the tip of the iceberg figure, and then we will see how that comes. He lives for 311 trillion 40 billion earth years. I'm sure all of us, all of you, all of us will take time to understand this vast figure. But let's see how it comes going forward. This is for all the maths and science students amongst us. We'll quickly go through this, or else this will take the whole class. So we start with Kali Yuga. This is the Yuga that we are living today. So our Kali Yuga is defined as the lifespan is 432,000 years. Let's call this K. So as we go back, Dwapar Yuga, the Yuga previous, it has got a lifespan twice that of Kali Yuga. So it's called 2K. Treta is 3K. Satya is 4K. Now, one Divya Yuga cycle or Mahayuga cycle is a summation of all these 4 yugas, which comes to 43.2 lakh human years. We go further. Brahma lives, now we get into another, so this is Mahayuga. Now we'll understand what is Manvantara. So there are 71 Mahayugas will give you one Manvantara. Now you will understand in the next slide why we are discussing Manvantara. Now each Manvantara is preceded and followed by a Sandhyakal, which is 4K. Going forward. So it is defined that Brahma lives for 14 Manvantaras. And there is one Sandhyakal after each Manvantara. So 14 Manvantara plus 15 Sandhyakals, which if you do the maths, don't worry too much. If anyone is interested, I'll send the slide out. You can go through this at leisure. We'll come to 1,000 Mahayugas. This is how you say Sahasra Yuga Paryantam. So one day is Sahasra Yuga Paryantam. 1,000 into 4,32,000 is 4.32 billion human years. So one day of Brahma is 4.32 billion years. One night is 4.2 billion years again. And he lives for, and of course, one day is one night, one day. 1 year is 360 days, 360 nights, which comes to 3.11.04 trillion human years. And the lifespan of Krishna, Brahma is defined as 100 years. So if you multiply 3.11 into 100, it comes to 311 trillion 40 billion human years. Going forward, I will show you how tiny, how puny science is compared to spiritual realm of time and space. We are a tiny speck in this cosmic creation. This is the wonderful maths lesson from Krishna to Arjuna. I really enjoyed understanding this. You really take time to understand what Krishna is saying. We move to the next verse. Avyakta vyaktaya sarvaha prabhuvanti haragame ratriyagame pralayante tatraivekta samnake. What is the translation? So here we come to understand another important concept. Manifest and unmanifest. Avyakta vyakta, states of the material world. I'll give you an easy example through which you can understand. At the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest. Easy to understand. From the unmanifest state, so we are all unmanifest, we become manifest. We were not there, we have become present. And thereafter, when the night falls, they are merged into the unmanifest again. So we come to life and then we again become unmanifest. This is what Krishna is saying. And this is what is happening every day of Brahma throughout his year of the lifespan of 100 years. So Krishna is explaining what happens during day, what happens during night. So this is cosmic creation. So when Krishna says matter becomes unmanifest, it only says that, what is changing is the form. The matter remains as it is. It's just that the form disappears. The matter doesn't disappear. We'll understand this slowly going forward. Avyakta vyaktaya sarvaha. This is the first line. Avyakta means Brahma is sleeping. So from sleeping state, he becomes awake at the time of the day. From unmanifest, all the living entities, senses, objects of enjoyment, places of enjoyment, they all become alive, manifest. Vyaktaha. So from unmanifest, they become manifest. That is, this world is ready to live. Prabhavanti haragame. Prabhavanti means emerge. Haragame is when the day of Lord Brahma starts. So at the start of the day, all the living entities, the entire universe wakes up, begins to act. Similarly, Ratriyagame Pralayante, when Brahma goes to sleep after 4.32 billion years, we are all destroyed. Pralayante means you are destroyed, you are dissolved, you are merged back into Brahman. That is the cycle of cosmic creation. Avyakta samnake, the whole universe born out of Lord Brahma merges, goes back into the same unmanifest state. Every day and night, this cycle continues. This is the wonder of Krishna's creation. Now, you may be wondering, what is this manifest? What is this unmanifest? So let's look. We are all very familiar with laptop. We are seeing the slide today. Now, if you switch on the laptop, our files become manifest. You all agree? Because if this operating system, the Windows is closed, you can't operate on PowerPoint or Excel. But the moment I switch on the power, I go into MS Office, I go into PowerPoint, that file becomes manifest. So when the laptop is shut, that is when that is equal to Brahma sleeping. When the laptop is sleeping, all the files are sleeping. The moment I switch on the power, I switch on MS Office, the files become alive again. Similarly, cosmic creation. All the living entities are at rest. At the time of the day, they become active. When the power switches on and Brahma wakes up, they of all the living entities, the entire universe comes alive. And at the end of the day, we are all destroyed. So this is creation, destruction, and this happens throughout 100 years of Brahma's life. Now, I said, I will give you an example from scientific world. We all are aware that recently in this year, James Webb Space Telescope was launched. And this telescope is the most powerful telescope designed by us so far. And this can see, using its infrared telescope, 13.6 billion light years away. Now, 13.6 billion compared to Hubble telescope, which was the biggest telescope we had before James Webb, looks huge. So we have been able to improve almost 10 times than what Hubble telescope did. But 13.6 billion years looks huge, but in terms of spiritual cosmic creation, one day it is not even equal to 3 days of Brahma. So you can understand how much more we must still travel to understand. Science needs, I don't know how many million years to understand the reality of spirituality. Through science, it is very difficult to understand spirituality. You keep attempting. The best path to follow is to know spirituality through scriptures. Science will take millions of years and still not achieve the perfect realization of spirituality, because Krishna himself says spiritual is beyond material. With material senses, you cannot see spiritual. Let's continue further. Another interesting verse. Bhuta gramasa evayam Bhuta Bhutva Praliyate. So now Krishna is describing the material world. We saw what happens at the time of the day, at the time of the night. This is the first essence of material world. Now he gives you further description of the material world. He says, Bhuta Gramasa Evayam, Bhutva Bhutva Praliyate, Ratriyagame Avasa Partha, Prabhavati Haragame. What is the translation? Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being. We just saw that in the last verse also. And with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated. So Krishna is further giving the description of this cyclic process. So material nature assumes everything is linear.
Prabhuji, we lost you. I'm not able to. Prabhuji, are you there? Can anybody confirm? He is audible?
session. Thank you very much for your patience. So I will just repeat the translation here again and again. So we learned this in this last verse, and Krishna is again reinforcing this message. Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated. So, Bhuta Grama. What is Bhuta Grama? Whole aggregate of living entities, the entire universe. It consists of all living and not moving, non-moving entities. Avyakta. They are in the unmanifest form earlier. Sa evayam. Bhutva bhutva praliyate. Repeatedly take birth again and again. So this is a cyclic process of creation. Ratriyagame, when night comes, avasa, helplessly, automatically, this entire world is destroyed, annihilated again. So this is the way of understanding. In the material world, we always look at things linear, but in spiritual world, everything is cyclic. Everything repeats at a periodic interval of time. Prabhavati haragame. Again, at the time of the day, this whole creation comes back. So understanding this spiritual creation, what is our learning? So we must try and remember Krishna at all times, particularly more so when we have sukha, when we are happy, when we are in the best of health. God has given us everything in more than equal measure. So if God is happy, God is kind, what we should do? We should reciprocate. And when we get into devotional service, we are only saying, thank you, Lord. Please continue your blessings on me. That's the essence of this verse. So we are such a minute, tiny speck in this cosmic creation. All that I can do is I pray to the Lord that I must be always remembering you so that I can come back to you. Let's move to the next verse. Now, these three verses, 17, 18, 19, we saw material world. Krishna started with Brahmaloka, and he gave us the idea and the brief description of cosmic creation, how life is created, how life is annihilated. Now he says, Mam upetya tu punarjanma. I had told you in the 20, 21, 22, he will give us an example of what is the spiritual world, what is Goloka, why Krishna says, remember me. Let's understand this here. Now he describes the spiritual world in beautiful verses. Paras tasmatu bhavo anyo avyakto vyakta sanatanaha yasa sarveshu bhuteshu nasyatshu na vinashyati. Let's look at the translation. In the eternal spiritual world, unmanifest, avyakta, it is unmanifest because we can't see it, but it is there always, and it is eternal. In the eternal world, there is no word called destruction. There is no jara, vyadi, murtyu, no old age, no death, no unhappiness. Everyone is happy always. Don't you think it is wonderful to go back to Godhead than struggle in this Dukkalayam Ashaswatam? Yet, now translation. Yet there is another unmanifest nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and it is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. So what is Krishna saying here? He is giving us a description of the spiritual world. Paras. Paras means superior. Tasmat, therefore. Tu bhavo anyo. There is another bhava is nature. So there is another nature, material nature, spiritual nature. So he's talking about spiritual nature. There is another nature, anyo, very different, superior, transcendental reality that exists. Avyakto vyaktat sanatanaha, which is, how do I understand the difference between material and spiritual? Spiritual is avyakta, unmanifest. It is not to be seen. You can't see the spiritual world until you enter the spiritual world. It is avyakta and it is sanatanaha. It does not have time span. Time stops in Goloka. There is no old age. We will be forever, eternally youth. That is the beauty of the Goloka or Vaikunta. So we cannot see this Vyakta, and it is unmanifest. So you cannot see it, but it is eternal. Now you may be wondering, what is this? How do I understand this? So Prabhupada gives a nice example. He says, at night when you see the sky, you see the stars twinkling. Well, this is the manifest nature. Now beyond the sky, there is the covering of the universe. That is subject to cosmic creation. But beyond that, so if you go beyond the twinkling stars, beyond the spiritual, the material covering, which is manifest, unmanifest, then you step into the spiritual world. That is eternal. Spiritual nature has no beginning, no end. Now, how do we understand this? When we are living in this material world, we have a clouded vision, limited understanding. It's like, you see the cloud in the sky and think that, oh, it's a cloud, the whole sky is covered by cloud. Is it ever true? No. No cloud can ever cover the entire sky. It just covers a part of the sky, but we feel that the entire sky is covered. As soon as the clouds are clear, we can see the original sky. Similarly, what Krishna is saying, if you come out of this material covering, conditioning, then you can see the spiritual sky. Stop believing in I, me, mine, and start believing in Krishna. Then you will be able to start seeing the spiritual sky. Yasarveshu bhuteshu. When everything in this world, nashyatsu, is destroyed, spiritual world, na vinashyati, is eternal. It is not destroyed. And this is called Vaikunta. Why Vaikunta is eternal? The word Vaikunta means Vigata Kunta Yasmat. Kunta is anxieties. So Vaikunta is that land where there is no anxiety at all. It is free from anxieties. Anxiety-free world is Vaikunta. And that is not destroyed when this cosmic creation comes into life and gets destroyed. So this is how eternal, we can aim for the eternal than the infinite. Yes, Brahma's lifespan is huge, infinite. It almost looks like, if you go to Brahmaloka, you will be immortal. But Krishna says there is something even beyond immortal, beyond infinite, and that is eternal. So please come back to me. That is his description of the spiritual world. Avyakto akshara iti yukta tam ahu paramam gatim yam prapyana nivartante tadhama paramam mama. He continues the description of the spiritual world. He says that which the Vedantas describe as unmanifest and infallible, that which is known as supreme destination, that place from which having attained one never returns, that is my supreme abode. So he is giving us further highlights of, in 8.15 he says mam upetya punarjanma napnuvanti mahatmanaha samsiddhim paramam gata. So we are all wondering. So I had told you what is attaining the supreme is described in the verse 21. So he is now telling us avyakto akshara iti yukta, that spiritual world which is described by two words, avyakta, unmanifest, akshara, infallible, tammahu paramam gatim. That is your supreme destination. Aim for it. Yam prapyana nivartante. That is the place, once you go, you will never come back. So aim for that. That is what attaining the supreme means. Tadhama paramam mama. That is my dhama. What is dhama? Dhama in Sanskrit means light, luminosity. So this, the moment you enter this dhama, then you are, let's say, the access to boundless knowledge, supreme light is in our hands. That is how we enter Krishna's world. And what is Krishna's world? There is a beautiful description in Brahma Samhita. It is said, Goloka, Vaikunta is Chintamani Dham. It's a wonderful description. If I can give you a very small essence of it, it says, no, we all used to mango trees, then let's say apple trees, grape trees, etc., etc. So for each fruit, you have a different tree. In Goloka, Brahma Samhita says you have one tree, and it is called the desire tree. You go and stand beneath it and say, I want a mango, it will give you a mango. You want an apple, it will give you an apple. That is a world which is unimaginable. So we should try and aim for the eternal than the infinite. That is the essence of Gita. Why Krishna is saying, come to me, remember me, attain me, because we will be free from all this samsara. We come into the 22nd verse now. Purusha Parapartha Bhaktilavisva Ananyaya Yasyanta Sthani Bhutani Yena Sarvam Idam Tatam. Bhaktya, I underline this word. So everything boils down to this bhakti. Such a great prize awaits us if we are able to follow Krishna's message to Arjuna. And he's also saying, I'm not giving you a very difficult task, Arjuna. It is very easy. Sulabha Partha. Let's see why bhakti is the path we should adopt. He says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, who is greater than all is attainable by unalloyed devotion. Bhaktilabhyastva ananyaya. Although he is present in his abode, he is all pervading and everything is situated within him. So and the beauty of Krishna is you don't have to search for him in Himalayas. You don't have to search for him in the forest. He is within us. He says, Purushaha. Purushaha means residing in the heart. Imagine, we try to search for Krishna everywhere else. We go to temples, we do austerities, but Krishna says that is self-realization. Remember, realize I am within you. So this is the first step, Gnana. Second step is Vijnana. After realizing that Krishna is within us, what do? Realization comes from devotional service, surrendering unto him. Do something so that you can pray to the Lord who is within us. He is all pervasive. Within, if the super soul and the soul, Atma and Paramatma, leave this body, is there anything else left? The body remains as it is, but the body is useless. So realize the Lord within you. Purushaha, he is within us. Sahpara Partha. Sahpara means he is supreme. Can we ever imagine the power of Atma? It is so strong. It can make a whale, it can work in an ant, it can make a human perform such wonderful deeds. That is supreme. He says, I am supreme, unsurpassable. You cannot imagine what I am. But he's saying, I am a person like you, Partha. I am just like you. The whole world is situated within me. Yasyanta sthani bhutani. First, let's take this. Bhaktilabhyastu ananyaya. Now, such a powerful person is available only through selflessness. If you remove selfishness and make it selflessness, Krishna is visible to you. That's the only difference. Remove selfish and make it selfless. You have attained Krishna. What is selfish? I want something from you, O Krishna. What is selfless? I want to love you, Krishna. I don't want anything in this world. That is bhaktya labhyastu ananyaya. Yasyanta sthani bhutani. He says, I am so widespread. Everything is situated in me and I am situated in everything. That is antasthani bhutani. The whole world is within him and Krishna is within the world. He is widespread. We have seen umpty number of examples in 7th chapter when Krishna says, how you can see me. It is like sun. Can anyone ask, where is sun? Every day morning, he's everywhere. Every nook and corner of this world, you can see sunlight. Similarly, Krishna is everywhere. But he is also living in his residence. That is the message. We must aim to go back to Godhead, go back to Goloka. Yena, by which person? Sarvam, everything. Idam, this universe is tatam pervaded. So he is present in his abode, but at the same time he is inside everything, and everything is inside him. It's very difficult to understand this. So now if you have to understand this, the simple line is, as Mahavishnu, he has everything inside him. We described or we discussed Virata Purusha. We will discuss that in detail. So the whole universe is within Krishna, and he is Mahavishnu. And as Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, he is inside everything as Paramatma. So that is the inconceivable nature of the Lord. He says, surrender unto me through bhakti. We move forward. Now comes the another part of this last lesson, that is, how do we attain Krishna? Yatra kale tvanavrittim avrittim chaiva yoginah prayatyanti tam kalam vakshiyame bharatrasabha. Now he starts giving us what are the different times a soul can leave the body. O best of Bharatas, I shall now explain to you the different times at which, passing away from this world, the yogi does or does not come back. Recording is going on. Okay. Now, what is Krishna saying here? See, in India, astrology is a very important science. And we have strong belief. As a child, all of us are aware that, we make an horoscope, kundali, and then everything is predicted based on the birth time. So time, kala, yatra kale, is important. And now Krishna also tells us the further importance of time. It's not only the birth time which is important, even the death time is important. In fact, it is even more important than birth time. Let's look at that. Different times, yatra kale, of passing away from this world have different results. Now you'll be wondering, how is this possible? But this is Krishna telling us. So Kale refers to time, and it also refers to the path taken by the soul when it departs from the body. And once the soul departs from the body, there are, you will see in the coming verses, a series of demigods, series of devatas who help us reach our destination. Now we should decide what destination we must reach. Now he is describing two paths. We will see this going forward. Yatra kale tvanavrittim. Now he says, if you know me, Arjuna, if you leave your body in this time, you will not come back. Yatra kale anavrittim means you will not come back. Avrittim chaiva yogina, you will come back. So there is a particular time which you leave, you will come back. He will describe to us what are those times. Prayattayanti tam kalam. I will explain to you that time. Vakshiyami bharatrasabha. So he's telling us in this verse that I will tell you the timings by which, if you leave, the soul leaves the body at that particular time, what is the result of it. So he will describe two paths, which we will see. One is Devyana, where you don't come back into this material world, and Pitruyana, where you have to come back again and again into this material world. Now this is Gnana. None of us really know that passing away at this particular time has this kind of an effect. So now we start looking at this is called the time when you leave, you don't come back into this world. You become one with the Lord. Agnir Jyotir Aha Shukla Sanmasa Uttarayanam Tatrapat Prayattagachanti Brahma Brahma Vido Janaha. This is path of light, Devyana. So Krishna says, those who know the Supreme Brahman attain the Supreme by passing away from the world during the influence of the fiery God in the light at an auspicious moment of the day, during the fortnight of the waxing moon, or during the 6 months when the sun travels in the north. It is almost like a mathematical formula. Arjuna, after some time, gets confused. He says, do you want me to remember all these things when I'm fighting a battlefield? It should be time of the day. It should be Uttarayana. Then Krishna says, relax. I'm giving you this as knowledge. But as a devotee, you are free from this. Let's look at what is this path of light, path of sun, path of no return. There are so many names. Devyana, path of gods. And this is the path of liberation too. Sun symbolizes energy. The whole world comes to life when there is sunlight. So this is the essence of passing away during daytime. So sunlight is positive. That's how we should remember this. If you pass away during the daytime, then you are likely to not come back into this world. Now you'll be, see, this is possible for a yogi. He can decide at what time he will leave the body. Like for example, Bhishma. Bhishma is the only living entity in this world who had this, what you can say, benediction, which said you can leave this body whenever you want. That is why he chose his time of death. He was lying in the battlefield because he was waiting. He got injured during Dakshinayana, and he wanted to leave his body in Uttarayana. So he said, I will not die till Uttarayana dawns upon us. But for common people, Krishna says, don't worry about all this. This is only for Jnanis. Agnir Jyotir Aha Shukla means Agnir is fire. Jyoti is light, illumination. So this is identified with the demigod Archie. So the Devtas play a phenomenal role in the soul's journey to either Krishna Loka or Anya Loka. He continues. Aha, aha means day. So we must remember passing away during the daytime is auspicious. Aha indicates the deity of the day. Shukla is the deity of the fortnight. We all know in a month we have Shukla Paksha, we have Krishna Paksha. So in the Shukla Paksha is an auspicious time. And Uttarayana, Sun Masa Uttarayana. We know that when the sun is in the northern course, it is called Uttarayana. In India, Uttarayana is considered highly auspicious. We all know we celebrate Makar Sankranti. That is the day when Uttarayana starts. So the Sun Masa Uttarayana means that is from January till 6 months. That is Uttarayana. This is considered to be auspicious. So remember, morning time during Shukla Paksha, during the 6 months of Uttarayana is considered to be auspicious time. Tatprayatta Gachanti, when they die, when one gives up his body, during this time, Brahma Vido Janaha, those people who know, they will achieve Brahman. They will achieve the effulgence of Brahma. So we must first understand it's not just the time. There is a huge contribution by the Devtas who help the soul reach its final destination. Now you may be wondering, what is the role of Devta? Why is Krishna talking about the deity of light, deity of day, deity of Shukla, deity of Uttarayana? Because they play an important role. Now it's like, if you are passing through a train, if you board a train, the train passes through many stations, isn't it? And in each station, you have a station master. Why? Because he should give the signal and he should ensure the safe passage of the train. Similarly, the Devtas play the role of a station master. They will guide the soul in the journey to reach its destination. So this is the path of light. So the path of light is for Jnanis and Yogis who know the auspicious time to give away their body, and they will achieve the path of no return. Let's go further. Next verse. Now I have summarized this as a nice flow diagram to show you that all that we studied in this verse is defined by 12 devatas. So a yogi leaving the body is guided by the following deities. Imagine deity of light, deity of the day, deity of Shukla Paksha, deity of Uttarayana, 6 months, deity of Shukla Paksha, deity of the year, deity of air, sun, lightning, water, Indra, Brahma, moon. Then you will achieve Brahman. So this is the path. Imagine Krishna is giving us such a wonderful definite description of afterlife. What happens? It's not something which is imaginary. Everything is defined. In spirituality, there is no guessing. Either you know or you don't know. That is Jnana. If you apply your knowledge, then that is Vijnana. So this is the passing away of the soul during the path of no return, path of light. Next verse uses the contrast, the path of darkness. Dhumo ratri sata Krishna, sanmasa dakshinayanam, tatra chandramasam jyotir, yogi prapya nivartate. Now it says, the mystic who passes away from this world during the smoke, the night, the fortnight of the waning moon, or the 6 months when the sun passes to the south, reaches the moon planet, but again comes back. So if you die during the day, you don't come back. If you die during the night, you will come back. That is the essence of learning here. Now, if I were to walk you through, okay. So this is the path of darkness, Pitriyana. This is associated with the moon planet. Why moon? In the path of light, it is sun, which is energy. In the path of darkness, it is moon. Why? Moon symbolizes matter. I'm sure we all have heard of these words: moon stuck, moonlighting, lunatic, honeymoon. All these things are associated with enjoyment. Only during the night times does a person think of enjoying. He will go to a bar, he will have the company of a woman, etc., etc., etc. He sleeps. So this is moon symbolizes moon. So enjoyment. So if you will pass away during the night time, then you are not likely to be given mukti, moksha. You will have to come back. So my father-in-law passed away during the night time. So now at that time, I did not have this knowledge. But today, I have started reflecting on this. Oh, of course, if you are a devotee, Krishna says you don't have to worry. Dhumo ratris tatha Krishna. Dhumo is smoke. It indicates the deity of smoke. Ratri is night. And Krishna is Krishna Paksha. Sanmasa Dakshinayana. This is 6 months of Dakshinayana. And for India, Dakshinayana is also equally pious, auspicious. We celebrate Dasera, we celebrate Diwali, we celebrate so many functions even during Dakshinayana. Even Janmashtami comes during Dakshinayana. So it's not that there is anything to choose between Uttarayana and Dakshinayana, but Krishna says this is the time, if you pass, you will have to come back. So Dakshinayana is when the sun is traveling in the southern solstice. Tatra Chandramasam Jyotir. What happens? This man goes to this soul goes to the moon planet. They live there for a long period of time and come back again. So this is, now let's look at, I will show you the same flow diagram, 2 ways. So first was path of light, path of darkness. This is for whom? This is for karmis. And where do we reach? We reach the heaven. What's the result? We have to come back to this material world, samsara. So here, the souls travel this path, and there are 8 devatas who guide us in this journey. Who are the 8 deities? Let us see. Deity of smoke, Dhumo Ratris, night. Deity of waning fortnight, Krishna Paksha. Deity of the year, that is Dakshinayana. Pitraloka, the Pitrus play an important role. Deity of ether, and then we go to the moon planet. We stay there. I think this is the time frame given is 10,000 years. So that's the space, the difference between the human calendar and the moon calendar. So if you go to the moon, in terms of the material calendar, you can stay there up to 10,000 years. You exhaust your pious credit, then you come back to earth. So we have understood that there are 2 paths, and of course, this is for a gnani and a karmi. It doesn't apply to a devotee. Let's go to the next verse. Shukla, now Krishna summarizes both the paths. Shukla Krishne gatiyete jagata shashvate mate ekaya yati anavritim anyaya avartate punaha. 2 ways of living the body. All that the devotees know these 2 paths, O Arjuna, they are never bewildered. Therefore, be always fixed in devotion. So it's very clearly assuring devotees that you don't have to worry. So what is the essence of learning here is, first and foremost, as a devotee, we don't know whether we will pass away by accident or we'll plan our death. We don't know that. He says, you don't worry. That is left. You leave it to me. So this world is a constant conflict between a higher life, spirituality, and the lower life temptations for material pleasures. So Krishna says it's a conflict between light and dark, lightness and darkness. So light takes you for release, or light gives you release, and darkness gives you rebirth. What a wonderful combination. So we must decide what we want to achieve. Shukla Prakshe Gati Ete. Shukla means Shukla Paksha, Krishna means Krishna Paksha. So there are two possible paths that you should take. Gati is the soul's journey. So there are two paths, Shukla, Krishna, that is clear. Jagata Shashvate Mate. These are defined as per the Vedas. These are eternal, and this is my opinion. Ekaya Yati Anavrittim. By one, yogi comes back, and the other, Anya Avartate Punaha. One, he goes Anavrittim. He is not coming back to this material world. Anyaya Avartate Punaha, you are coming back again. So he says, do not get deluded, do not get puzzled, do not get anxious. Oh, well, I'm going to die during the day or night. That is not for you. If you follow Gita, if you follow Krishna, if you follow devotion, if you follow path of bhakti, both these things, you don't have to worry. So these are the two paths we've studied. So Krishna says, don't worry. Shukla Krishna Gati Ete. This is knowledge for you. As far as you are concerned, I am there to take care of you. Na ite Shruti Partha Chanan Yogi Muyyati Kaschanaha Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Yoga Yukto Bhavarjuna. Now he's very clearly telling Arjuna, I am reassuring you, you don't have to worry about this if you follow my path. Although the devotees know these two paths, O Arjuna, they are never bewildered. Therefore, be always fixed in this devotion. So simple, isn't it? As a devotee, as a student of Gita, we don't have to worry about it. He says, you only prepare for devotion. Spend your life in devotional service. Don't spend your time in doing Satchakra Yoga, Astanga Yoga, trying to be a Gnani, trying to decide I have to die during night time or morning time. All that is too complex. Keep it simple. You are here. If you play to me, I will take care of you. And here is use the same words in 8.7. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu ma manusmara yudiyacha. Here is saying yoga yukto. There he said ma manusmara, remember me. Here he says engage in yoga. Now what is the line by line meaning? Naite, these two, Shruti, different paths, Partha, that is Arjuna, Janan, even if one knows there are two paths, Yogi Muyyati Kaschana, the yogis, the devotees, he is not bewildered, he is not dejected, he is not despondent, he is not anxious. Why? Because they are always constantly engaged in Yoga Yukto Bhavarjuna. They are engaged in remembering me, trying to you could chant his name, you could visit him, you could do seva in the temple, you can have his prasad. There are so many simple ways by which you can serve the Lord. That is what he says, Yoga Yukto Bhavarjuna. Last verse of this fantastic verse. It is like after this verse, there will be no doubt in anyone's mind that through bhakti, Krishna takes care of us. He says, Vedeshu yagneshu tapasu chaiva daneshu yat punya phalam pradistam atteti tat sarvam idam viditva yogi paramsthanam upaiti chadyam. What more reassurance you want? He says, supreme position of bhakti yogi. A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, that is Vedeshu, performing austere sacrifices, Yagneshu, giving charity, Daneshu, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities, Tapasu. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all this, and at the end, he reaches his supreme abode. So, what is Krishna saying? In the Vedas, there are 4 things which are recommended. Vedeshu, Adhyayana, regular study of Vedas under a spiritual master. So if you are able to do that, then it is one way of attaining knowledge. Yajna, performance of sacrifices. Now, as a householder, we can perform many sacrifices to gain enlightenment. What is the first sacrifice we are doing? Studying Gita. That is also sacrifice to the Lord. You're sacrificing your intelligence in the service of Krishna. Tapa, self-restraint, undergoing austerities. Dana, giving charities. Even this, Krishna gives us a very clear message. He says, giving charity also has to be practiced very diligently. You can't give it, let us say, charity to a person who misuses your money. So giving it to the right place, to the right institution, to the right person is also very important. If not, you will become part of the karma of what your money is used by the person to whom you gave charity. So you should be very careful. Yat punya phalam pradistam. So whatever pious results you get, you will get them in bhakti. He's saying atyeti, more than that, more than what you get in any of these four paths, you will get from tat sarvam. What is that? We can get the benefits surpassing all of them by knowing me. Tat sarvam idam viditva. Yogi paramsthanam upaiti chatyam. All that you need to do is perform devotional service, remember me constantly. Idam viditva is a very important word. It says, follow the instructions of Krishna in chapter 7 and chapter 8. Knowledge of the absolute and attaining the supreme. These two chapters take us to the path of bhakti. If you understand these two chapters, you are on your way to devotional service. You would have started the journey of surrendering to Krishna. So Krishna gives us an entire flow chart for afterlife. Now we have the knowledge, we have the gnana. Now we have to decide, and it's an individual choice. And what is the choice we have to make is, do we want heaven? Do we want rebirth? Or do we want liberation? That completely is in our hands, and it is decided by our approach, our behavior, our outlook to Krishna's message. Either you adopt it or you give it. Choice is yours. Krishna is not going to force us. So with this, we have come to the end of the 8th chapter. A quick, brief summary. We started this chapter with 8 questions from Arjuna. Krishna answers all of them. And the 8th question was, how do I remember you at the time of death? So Krishna tells us in the lesson 2, you can remember me through law of last thought. It requires abhyasa, constant practice. Keep your mind and intelligence fixed on me. How do I attain Krishna? How do I attain Supreme? This is the lesson 3. He gives us 3 paths: remembrance by Yoga Mishra Bhakti, remembrance by Shuddha Bhakti, remembrance, comparison of material world and spiritual world. What is material world? Material world is Dukkhalayam Ashaswatam. What is spiritual world? It is eternal. We have seen how vast is Brahma's lifespan, 311 trillion 40 billion years. It is infinite. You can become immortal by going to Brahmaloka, but still you cannot become eternal. If you want to be eternal, you have to go to the spiritual world. That is the abode of Krishna. Bhakti is the supreme path to achieve this Goloka Vaikuntha. And he gives us this last verse where he says, Bhakti gets you more results than Vedeshu, Yagneshu, Tapasu Chaiva, Daneshu, Yat Punya Phalam. Whatever pious credits you can get by following all these 4 paths, you will get more than that by following Bhakti, by following devotional service unto me. Thank you very much. With this, we complete the 8th chapter of Gita. Now I pause for any questions. Thank you, Santosh. Thank you for joining. Thank you for spending your valuable time listening to Gita. If there are no questions, then I will close the session. Hello, Ramesh, Rekha. Any point for clarification?
I am done for the day, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramesh. Thank you all. Enjoy your rest of the evening. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.